Hello, hello, most beautiful stars. Hello, hello. This is Hangout Time with Courtney and with each other, so we can all just hang out. You can ask me any question that you would like. Any question, really. Anything personal, metaphysical, spiritual, thoughts about anything, really. And if Scotty comes in, he'll probably ask me where babies come from. That's the standard. Um, I do during these episodes is when I get together with everybody and we just hang out. And I do also take some kind of like gummy or something, which I just did about a minute ago. So usually I'll be in some kind of rant and then it's like, whoa, yeah, you can tell that it just kicked in. I do that because the host of Stars of Morning Light, Courtney, I don't really partake that much. But I know that a lot of the subscribers here do. So it's like I try to imagine this as like if we were all sitting around like a cool bonfire and I'm partaking with everybody and we're just chilling and hanging out, you know, doing what we do. So we can all kind of be on the same page. Oh, awesome. I picked up my deck, my um where's the sacred geometry deck, because beloveds, I don't really have anything to say. I mean, I've been thinking about something to start off with to get the juices flowing, the words going, and I don't have much to say. So I see that Seeker came in. Good to see you, my dear. uh Seeker of Truth and I had a wonderful conversation earlier, and she's actually going to record something with me next week that will be coming out this month, about asking questions. Beautiful Shelley has learned over time that asking the right questions is it's fundamental. Oh, geez. Okay, we got two cards that jumped out. So that kind of gives us a starting point. I also want to say, beloveds, that I was thinking not everybody wants to maybe participate in the chat or put their question in the chat. So I do have my phone with me this time. I normally don't. I do have my phone with me. So if you want to email a question, so it's completely anonymous, they don't even see your fake name here on YouTube. It's completely anonymous. You can email a question to Stars of the Morning Light. It's the full name of this channel, Stars of the Morning Light at gmail.com. And my phone will tell me. So you can do it that way too. Because I don't know if some might want to do it that way. So why not have the option? Options are beautiful. And I see Witch Moon 11 came in. Good to see you, my dear. Um, you just took your edible too? Yeah, um I don't partake them in the summertime. I do more so because it helps me sleep. I am definitely a being that absorbs the sunlight like no other, and so it actually helps me to go to sleep because I'll be full of energy if I don't. Um, I don't partake too often. I did on the 4th of July, definitely, and that was interesting because I took, like, 2 little baby hits from, like, 2 different people, right? Because that's all I really needed. I'm kind of a lightweight now, considering 20 years ago who I was. Um, but it was interesting because it was 2 different one was, like, a local strand, and then one was, like, from Illinois, and it was very interesting to, feel the difference. Partake in the difference of strands, and I've done it all over the place and had all sorts of decades ago. But, it was kinda interesting on the 4th to experience that, and I took note, like, "Oh, that's what this strand is, that's what that strand is, that's fascinating." Um, so the first card that popped out, and if you do have a question, just put it in, the chat in bold type if you can, because it makes me if you guys are talking and having a good time, it makes me know that, like, "Hey, I got a question." And Seeker Shelley pulled number 40, soul time. That's what we're doing right now. We're coming together. We're having some soul time. That's beautiful. All right. So the first card that jumped out is number 33, miracle. And I am going to read this without my glasses that are nowhere present. Oh, I got some cheaters. Look at that. Y'all know that in the south of the United States, like, so the south, they call them readers. And in the north, we always called them cheaters. Do people in the West, like Shelly out in California, what do you guys call like the cheap glasses that you would get at the store just to like magnify things? Do you call them readers or you call them cheaters? Isn't this fascinating? Just little quirks like that. We all have different terms that we use. We're such a big place here in the States and the whole earth. 33, miracle. The frequency of miracle supports our belief in ourselves as part of Source, and therefore our belief that anything is possible. Oh, I want to read that again, folks. The frequency of miracle supports our belief in ourself as part of Source, and therefore our belief that anything is possible. Oh, please, beloved. Yes. Let me see if I turn the light, if it helps. I'm trying to get that in. It's a very bright card, so it's not going to pick up everything as far as the geometry. I was in a conversation, this had been a few weeks ago, and the individual that I was talking to, we were talking about synchronicities and all this stuff, and I might talk about it tonight. And at one point, I said, sweetheart, there's that catchphrase that thoughts become things. And that, in the most part, is somewhat true. And I can break that all down. But really, when we're talking about like manifesting, it's not so much thoughts, right? It's the stuff we really believe in. It's like if you believe in yourself, as this card says, you are that walking miracle. You can do all things and produce all things and make all great things happen, right? And it's really what we believe in, not so much like all the thoughts that we have and all the distraction thoughts, definitely. So I can break that down for you because it was a lot about synchronicities, and I talked about the subconscious, and I think I talked about it with the patrons of Stars of the Morning Light this past weekend, and I would like to maybe break that down for folks. The second card that jumped out, which is also very cool, is number 37, realization. The frequency of realization supports the internal process of becoming aware of our heart-centered truth, as well as the external process of becoming our highest expression in this world. Oh, this is kind of what Shelley and I were talking about earlier today. Mm, mm. Realization, your heart's oh, this is not coming out well with this lighting, folks. It's just not. I'm not doing you a good enough service. Maybe kind of at an angle it does with this lighting here. And it's because of all the colors, in YouTube. It takes it a minute, the camera, to be like, whoa, what is she doing? She keeps moving the sacred geometry around. Yes, I do. Yes, I do. I do it all the time with everything I do. Oh, Lord. I'm just looking if people are having fun, if there's any questions, go ahead and ask. Um, uh, and whoever is watching, I hope more come in. I know numbers go down in the summer big time, and also because I'm very sporadic most of these days now. Uh, I do want to talk about that synchronicity aspect. and the thoughts become things and whatnot for just a brief moment. And who knows, maybe I'll enter in a whole rant coming out of me. Um, oh, which moon 11? Any questions, darling? Any questions? I mean, if you want to know something about me, your host, that's fine. If you want to know, I honestly anything. Like seriously, this is the time that if you want to just hang out, talk, ask questions. I'm doing this now with the patrons as well, and it's working really good when we come together and people are asking questions because then that's how I can serve even more so because I can't it's hard. I can't like rack my brain thinking about like topics to talk about or what do people need, to know or what are they even curious about? You could be curious about anything. And I will also I if I don't know, I will say I don't know. I have no problem saying if I'm ignorant about something and don't know. I actually made a post the other day that Socrates was the one who said awareness. How did the quote go? He said, "The awareness of ignorance is the beginning of wisdom." Yeah, that's his quote. The awareness of ignorance is the beginning of wisdom. So if I don't know something, I will definitely admit that I don't know. But generally I can talk about a lot of things. So oh, Seeker just came right out and asked something. Um, okay, I will get back to you. I'm gonna make a note that I want to get back to that. Maybe we'll end on the synchronicities aspect, with the subconscious, so I can get right into the questions. Um, Shelly just asked. She just asked, "What does it feel like when you go to the Akashic records in your mind and body?" Okay, that's actually a really good question. I don't know if people have ever asked me that. So, if you're new here, I am an Akashic Records messenger. I usually, honestly, I just say Akashic messenger because that's what I refer to it as. I don't put the word records to it. I understand why it's there and why, we refer to it as that, but it's really just the Akashic. Like that word implies records, by the way. So, how do I feel? How do I feel? Well, first of all, I have to have my frequency aligned with the frequency of that, of the Akashic. Um, and I've been doing it for so long now that I don't have to do like all the things that I used to do, like all the breath work and all the this and things that I would say. I do still say stuff because I like that the words that I say to myself to kind of get me in the zone and say to them out of respect, like, um, it's also like kind of my form of protection in a way too, protection, uh, purpose, like what all of it. And it gets me more in the zone. I do a little bit of my breathing, my cleansing, what have you. Um, what it feels like if I so I can do it in two ways. Either they will just transmit what information that's needed. And the transmission for me personally is in sight and sound. Like I will see things and hear whatever they need to tell me. Or I can travel there. And traveling there, beloveds, think of like the Einstein Rosen Bridge, which is your I don't have let me see if I have paper. Um I kind of travel in like a tube. It's how actually most people travel. Because the astral plane is not the same as like what's in the ethereal or just traveling in general. So it's kind of like this. So like if I'm here relaxed sitting on my couch, my consciousness is going to travel to the destination where I need to be, right? The destination where I need to be. That's actually how Einstein knew this, and it is actually how we do it. And I can talk about that more so at a different time if you would like. It is how we do it, though, folks. To make sure that we are choosing our location instead of being displaced in a possible dangerous location that would be more of the astral plane. So let's say I do that. Let's say, from me here, I go through there. Um, when I actually, so years and years ago, I'm kind of bringing it all into current day, but I think it's because if anyone's practicing out there, or if they want to understand, and materials are all going to be different, saying different things. When I first started practicing and communicating, it was kind of like an image of like a library, right? And they were presenting to me how I would be comfortable, like the images that would make me feel more comfortable and at ease. But for a long time, beloveds, for like at least a year or 2 years, gosh, I don't even remember. I wasn't even allowed into the library. I would be like kind of outside in the grassy knoll, let's say, and these beings would be talking to me and telling me, go do this, go do that. And some of times it would seem so random. And so, but it wasn't. It was stripping me of um, my curiosities. It was stripping me of my preconceived notions and thoughts. It was stripping me of a lot of judgment. It was stripping me of also like I can follow. It was stripping me of building trust with them and them building trust with me. A lot was going on during that process. Um, Through that, I will say I didn't really feel much. And then eventually I started working as in like I would go into the library and they would retrieve the person's book and story. And I really worked like that for quite a few years. And I remember thinking, well, I would talk to them about it, honestly. I would say, hey, I know Edgar. Edgar didn't experience it like this. The other, the woman from like the Bohemian area, like I think she was in the Ukraine, or like, gosh, I can't remember her name right now. Who experienced the Akashic? Some other great psychics. Um, they didn't experience like this quote unquote visual kind of library whole effects thing. And I said, "So why am I?" And they said, "'Cause you're not ready for that." Meaning I was not ready to accept who I was yet. And I understood what they meant. Like, I at that time, I mean, I still wasn't. And so everything's a process, and same for everyone else here, right? Whatever gifts, talents, skills, even relationships, standard jobs, careers, it's a whole lot of having to accept who we are in our totality and our fullness before we can even get to like what we really would enjoy. So I understood that. I understood that I was not ready. Even though I had clients, I was doing readings. It wasn't the readings aspect. It was that I was not ready to fully accept um, what the Akashic really is like for Edgar, for some others. And it was maybe I wanna say just it wasn't maybe 2, 3 years ago, and it was around the time that I really said, "Okay, I'm accepting myself fully," right? I don't care what the world sees me or, I laid down all judgments of self and judgments of others and laid down all that I needed to lay down so I could stand up, um, that it started shifting. That it shifted, and it was nice because it was kind of a process. So now when I go now when I go and I do my thing and I go on up, um, consciously, my body is still sitting on the couch or in a chair, I do this sitting. I'm in a very comfortable, relaxed state, which I can get to that state immediately, pretty much anywhere. Um, my body is still physically here, but consciously, I'm there. And now it's more the best way for me to visually describe it is like like the Milky Way, like that swirl of the Milky Way. It's amazing. That swirl, that spiral of the Milky Way, it's kinda like that, and as at least how I see it and experience it. And so when I enter in to do a reading for someone, even myself, I stand in the center of that spiral. I stand in the center, and as it's is spiraling around me, and I request like the frequency story of whomever I'm doing a reading for, that then is like it's an energy force then that kind of comes out of the spiral and runs through me or stops and is presented right in front of me. So I can definitely know that I'm viewing the right story here, the right frequency that is attached to you of all time and space. While it is still spinning. So, yes, I stand inside of a spiral, um, which makes sense to me because my teacher, did all this ancient numerology as to who I am, and she was like, "You are that spiral," and I was like, "Yeah, I know. You should know you should know how I operate throughout the day. I'm like a whirlwind." She started laughing. When I'm there, how I feel, though, so light. It feel it's that's what sometimes I do love having readings even on days that I'm like, "Oh," like, "I'm tired, I don't know," but then I do my job, right? And when I'm in it, it's just you feel so well, you're weightless. You d you do feel the love. You feel creation itself. Because for me, that point that I'm standing in, that is the 0 point of creation, and that is where all infinite potentialities spring forth. You could see it as in, like, the Nag Hammadi scriptures, as the virgin waters, as they talk about it. The Christ consciousness talked about, the water, the spirit of water, right? That's kinda what the Akash they're referring to really the Akashic. The term comes from Sumerian texts, but it's all the same jazz, as in this beautiful flowing energy, right? And as we all know now, so many of us are getting hit to spirals. Um, this moving energy that does kind of look like the Milky Way, if it were like moving, right? Um, all infinite potentialities like spring forth from that center. So all of your potentialities, all of my potentialities, all that has ever been, all that is, and all that will ever be is actually there. But that is all based on the human free will and choice. So how it feels, well, I've said it here on other shows. I know that I have that you cannot have creation without love. It's actually impossible. It is the linking energy throughout all things, regardless of how corroded and corrupted and quote unquote evil it could be. If it is created, there was an aspect of love within because someone wanted to create, right? Someone had a desire and wanted to create. Therefore, that love is there. Even if it is for nefarious things, that love that they have for nefarious things is there. This is kind of I'm going a little outside the script here, but so in creation itself, it is that love. It is that pureness of love of the virgin waters, the living waters, people. That is that beautiful spiral. And in the center where I stand, everything springs forth. And that's how I can access your questions and whatever's going on, because I am standing in the center of that. So I feel the love. I feel so light. I did a reading today, and when I closed everything up and returned, and I return my, I do my whole thing of, I have my full consciousness return to this body of form. That's what I say. My full consciousness returns to this body of form. Um, that's that's often people have witnessed this, by the way. Like when I do small um reading events, people have seen what it's like for me to come back. They've witnessed what it's like when I'm gone, and they're just amazed, because my energy, they like Dashni, who's been here, the empath of hope. The first time she saw it, she was like, "Oh my God, like, where are you and how big are you?" Because my energy go, I'm gone. Like I'm gone, but I'm still also attached to this body of form. So I'm massive. I'm massive, right? It's like a trail of energy. Um, but whenever I have to come back into this body of form, full consciousness, um, that's how I know how dense this place really is. So, like, after I did the reading today and I get done and I come back, it was like, oh God, my head hurts, my body hurts. This place is so dense. Yeah, it's dense here. It is so I we don't know any different. So when I talk about the density here and how dense it is, and that's a big part of the issues and why enlightenment has really become lighter, um, uh, it's because I do experience the difference, and the density here, it just pulls and tightens, and so when I'm there, it's light and pure light. Light in the sense of you are light in feeling, and you are emanating light, and you're feeling that love, and you're feeling creation. That's the beauty, really, for me, is the feeling of creation, right? I mean, we get to experience it within the density, but in its authentic self, its true self, it's there's absolutely nothing like it. I don't have words for that, I don't think. So, that is what it feels like, because that's what Seeker asked. She said, "What does it feel like when you go to the Akashic records in your mind and body?" So, my body, when it's on the couch and I'm there, my body is actually feeling light too, because it's attached, right? I already get it to kind of a light, relaxed state. It's the whole coming back that it's like, "Oh, damn, that's right, this place is heavy." Damn, it's like I forget while I'm there when it could just be an hour, not even. It could be 20 minutes and I would already forget. That's it too. Like it when we talk about the forgetfulness of, our we reincarnate. We have incarnations here, and every single time we forget. We forget. It is the density, folks. I if we can really try our best to let go and become lighter and lighter and lighter, lighter in spirit, lighter in actually body, lighter in your mental, your physical, your emotional, and spiritual. If you can become lighter, if you can become more like light and lighter, right? Just dropping a lot of the aspects of density. That is a big part of what the Christ consciousness was actually trying to teach people continuously. So, uh, we are capable of doing that, and that's where this crystalline light body stuff comes into play. We are capable of doing that, but it's all these, but the density of 3D, I do have full compassion and understanding and empathy and sympathy, because I do know how dense it is. I we all experience it. Um, that is, if people can maybe take away anything, we can live much better lives. That is more of the reality of like the seventh dimensional living, being a light body here in this body of form. It is possible we can do that. And the you would remember everything. You would remember because it's the density that is the fog that they talk about, like the Essene talk about, the Nagamaya scriptures talk about the fog, right? Even they talk about you, it could be even like the demiurge has created the fog, the forgetfulness, right? The not just the distractions and the control, but like why do we not remember who we were? Well, it's because of the density here. This is pretty much the most dense sphere, right? That we could ever live in. It is the most dense. It is so dense. And that's why when I get back, I'm like, oh shit. And I don't remember all that is said and done. I really don't. I don't feel the same way anymore. I feel the pressure and the physical pains and the headaches and whatever may be going on with me that day. I experience all that the rest of us do because of the density. So if you're working on remembering who you are, choose things that help you be lighter. That was a lot to say for just one little question. Um, oh, Shelley said that that's what Shri showed her that the Akashic was like. Yes, it's a beautiful thing. Yeah, the density. We all are walking through the density together. We really are. But it doesn't have to be. That's what the masters were always trying to teach us. Like, when Buddha's like, "Oh, you need to cross this river here, just cross the river." That's because he was living more as a light body, moving through the density. We just don't think that we can because we haven't experienced the lightness. So we feel like we have to trudge and we have to work hard and we have to row to get across that river. We got to work hard at it when all the masters have always just if you're lighter and a light being, you just move to the other side of the river. You're not confined by the density. It does not hold you. A lot of people think, I mean, it's similar to the programming, but the programming is nowhere near. Uh, it's like the density is what is natural energy in this sphere, and the programming that people often refer to is just the tool that they can use the density as a very good tool to uphold the programming. It's not the programming is actually not that hard to get over. It's hard because of the density that it's attached to. Okay, you just float around aloof like that. You know what? Witch Moon 11 said, she can kind of understand what I'm talking about because she can detach from her body, like conscious wise, and just float around. Girl, more power to you. I do that to even just relieve myself from the density. Like, I seriously do that. I'll imagine, like, oh, I'm just going to take this meat suit off, zip it down and take it off. And I'm just going to float around for a little bit just to feel the light, just to feel lighter, especially if I do have any like physical body aches, headaches, stuff like that. I'll do a little Reiki on myself, a little energy healing, and then I'll be like, well, why don't we just relieve the meat suit for a minute and relieve ourselves for a minute and go around and refresh ourselves and relax, and it helps. I've done that since I was a kid. I've done that since I was a kid. Well, I was also taught to do that, but I've been doing it since I was a kid. So that's a really great tool to have to begin the process of traveling with intent instead of just traveling unknowingly. Could add a V8 moments. Oh, jeez. Seeker said she's kinda, like, in 2 places at the same time. That is not uncommon, Seeker. That actually I have oftentimes people ask me because 'cause they'll experience that, or they've always experienced it, but they didn't know really how to explain it, and that is not uncommon, and it's a great gift to have. Do you know that, like, let's say it's like it's you at home, and then all of a sudden you're somewhere else, but you're in the same places at both times. That somewhere else can move throughout space and time really well. You can develop that gift that, like, you can be present and still cooking dinner and still doing things, but it's like your part of your consciousness goes and does something else as well. There's people that do that in their sleep a lot. Those are your dream workers. But people that do it consciously as well. You can train that aspect of your consciousness that's like, okay, I'm over here now to actually move throughout time and space to past, present, and future to help get insight, whatever it may be. You can train it. So it's not just because oftentimes when I talk to people, the reason I'm bringing this up is like they'll be stretching or folding laundry. I mean, the whole gambit is whatever they're doing, right? They could be mowing the lawn. Somebody asked me and they were mowing the lawn and they're like, but yet I was also somewhere else, Courtney. And I'm like, that's fine. It's fine. Um, you those that have that, you can really train that other one to, pick up the reasons why. Like, why did I travel here? What is going on? Or even have a distinct place you want to travel to, for various reasons. You can train that. Yeah. Okay. Witch Moon 11 calls that the in between. Yeah, a bit, but it is also more. It's them. I get what you're saying. For me personally, the in between can refer to a lot of things, and honestly, I personally I refer to the in between as more like the astral because it is kind of um, when this could be you traveled to 1876 for some reason, because you needed a piece of information, or if you don't have any kind of um, like if it's just happening, people feel like things are happening to them, but it's not really happening to them. This goes into everything, folks, so please hear me out on this. Things don't really happen to us. Somewhere in our subconscious, even our conscious, if we're not paying attention, is making the choice to do that. So it's not necessarily, like, happening to us, but because we're not aware that we're making the choice to, like, "Oh, hey, consciousness, while I'm mowing the lawn here, will you jump over to 1846 because I need to really actually look at that document again?" For whatever reason. It's really happening in our minds. So I do wanna talk quickly, and you can put in more questions too, ladies, about that concept of, like, synchronicities, signs, which leads into creation. Um, Thoughts become things, even stuff like this, like, oh, I'm present here, but it feels like my consciousness just bopped over somewhere else. All this stuff, even with programming, and so this is going to be kind of a maybe a little bit of a winded um, aspect to speak about. We are still making the choice. And so when I talk about the power of choice, I'm trying to entice the thought of not just how powerful choice is, but to invite us to acknowledge that we are the ones making the choice. And that goes for damn near everything. And even though a lot happens to us from outside influences, especially when we're young, even as adults, that's not necessarily what I'm talking about. That's a part of maybe you planned it before you got here, right? And then you forgot. Or maybe wrong place, wrong time, outside influence, but still the choice. What do you do with it? So the power of choice is so huge. So when it comes to synchronicities, signs, I often am asked, normally if somebody's talking about synchronicities and signs, I will say I just keep my mouth shut because they get people gain so much pleasure from that stuff, so much encouragement from it. Corny, I keep seeing 1111, or I keep seeing 999, or I keep seeing whatever it may be. They get such a boost of confidence that I don't say shit. I just right on. That's for you, because it is. It is. Usually 89 times out of 100, or 98 times out of 100, I should say. I mean, usually the entire time, less than 2% is it coming from some like angelic realm or astral realm, or it's coming from something vastly outside of you, right? Um, the majority of the time, your signs, your synchronicities, they're coming from you. It's your subconscious is sending you that stuff. Your subconscious, where all creation lies in itself, is trying to speak to the conscious mind. The majority is the subconscious is trying to connect with the conscious mind. So let's say the thoughts become things. Okay. You could be thinking in your conscious mind about a lot of stuff. And you could say to yourself, okay, if I really want this, I need to think about this all the time. Think about this all the time. Think about all this. What you are doing there, beloveds, okay, when we are training our conscious mind to think about something all the time in order to receive and manifest it, what we're doing is we're syncing up the conscious mind with the subconscious mind, because all of creation is within the subconscious mind. And then when that finally, hey, subconscious mind, you've heard it enough. This is what we want. The subconscious mind goes, okay, let me bring it in for you. And same with signs and synchronicities that the subconscious is trying to make you aware of and give you that boost of confidence, give you that inspiration, give you that sense of love, protection, peace, connection, whatever it is that you need. That is coming from your subconscious mind to start having the conscious mind work with it and say that keep going that way. Keep going that way. Yes, because eventually when the conscious mind and subconscious mind comes together, that is when people will begin to truly understand how they are masters of creation. We are creating all the time. Everything that is coming to us, we have chosen. We have chosen either in our subconscious or conscious. The two really do work together, but we're not aware of it. We don't know how to, merge them together. But that doesn't mean that we won't. That is a part of the whole age of Aquarius. It's gonna be beautiful. So, this is not to be discouraging, because your subconsciousness is attached to the infinite. Your subconsciousness is attached to whatever you believe in. It's attached to all time and space. It's attached to everything great. That if it's sending you signs and synchronicities, That's the same as God doing it for you. That's the same as a higher power. That's the same as a deceased loved one. It's the same jazz. But I'm just trying to make people aware that it is actually your subconscious. It's not some other entity doing it, some deity doing it. Um, so within that though, your subconscious is choosing that. Your conscious is choosing that. They're trying to communicate. Um, we also choose. I was talking to Shelly today. So Shelly, I'm just gonna bring it up. We were on, I don't know, we were talking about a bunch of stuff. And at some point, because we were talking about one of her past lives, and I don't have to get into the past life aspect, but we have all lived, every single one of us has lived so many incarnations that we have essentially walked in each other's shoes. We have experienced all the pain and sorrow and traumas with all the blessings and glorious miracles that can be lived within this sphere of density. We have already experienced that, right? And but many a times the traumas are so significant, so advanced in their power that we live through many of those, that when we reincarnate, when we come again, we start to allow the programming so we can live more copacetically, so we don't receive the trauma. We allow the influences so we don't receive the trauma. We dim ourselves, we dim our lights, we allow the forgetfulness, we allow any kind of programming and conforming to happen so we don't have to live through the trauma that we have always lived. So that is one of the aspects of the power of choice, is unfortunately we are still making that choice. We're still choosing to follow the programs, listen to the programs, participate in the programs, even if we think we're unconsciously aware of it. The subconscious knows it, but it is also still choosing it because it's for us to walk through in the world of density. So it is still part of the power of choice. We are not actually, not much happens to us that we do not choose and allow. Which is kind of a big pill to swallow in a way. But we do it we're trying to protect our light. We forget. We're trying to protect ourself, just physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, all around. Where we have many a reasons. We have many a reasons. But that is why I often when I hear people with the conspiracy theories and the programming and the this and that, it's kind of a hard pill for me to swallow when everybody else can swallow those pills because I know that it's us that are choosing. We're choosing to program ourselves. It's kind of a hard pill to swallow, but it is what is happening. So you can also choose to not. You can also choose to not. You can choose to begin to live lighter without accepting the density. You don't have to accept the density just because you're here in a body of form. It's already been proven to us over and over again by different masters, by different sages. It's already been proven that you don't have to accept the density just because you're in a body of form here. It's been proven. So that's good news. So do we have any more questions? That was a long thing. So I did talk about the synchronicities, and it might be good to, I don't know. That might be kind of Edgar Casey, even those who follow his channel, he talked about the subconscious a lot. The subconscious is the one creating all this stuff, creating everything that you experience, a witness, and do and say. in a lot of ways. The conscious mind is the action reaction within the density, the action reaction, the understanding, the dialogue, right? The what operates this body of form. The subconscious, though, of you, as attached to the totality of all things, the all, the one, that is of the one, the all, the, you know, that is the one that is projecting, but it's projecting based off of your consciousness. So when we merge the two and we really learn how this whole system of operations works, we then can start living whatever we want to live. We can. We can start living however we want to live. We don't have to accept the density because we are miracles. Number 33, miracle. The frequency of miracles supports our belief in ourselves as part of Source. Therefore, our belief that anything is possible. You know, beloveds, like I said, um, a lot of people say that we thoughts become things. That does not mean every thought that runs through your head is going to be a thing. That would be crazy, wouldn't it? um, and then people will say, well, it's what you think mostly about. Well, we think mostly about a lot of things. It's not so much thought. It's what do you believe? What do you believe? Because belief is a very strong thought. Belief is an unwavering thought. Belief is the cornerstone of all of your thoughts. So it's what you believe you receive. And so if you believe that you're not going to get a raise at work or you're not going to get a better position, well, then you're not. If you believe that you will, I mean, strong conviction, I believe I am going to get promoted, well, then you will. If you believe that you're not going to get that new house, well, if you believe that and it's a strong conviction within you, then no, you won't. If you believe that you will, you will. And so I want to emphasize the word belief. I really do. And so I'm going to read miracle again. Number 33, miracle. The frequency of miracle supports our belief in ourselves as part of Source, and therefore our belief that anything is possible. So imagine if you believed in yourself completely. Like I just said a little bit ago in this episode that I didn't get to experience the totality and the virgin waters, right, of the Akashic records, the 0 point of creation, until I fully accepted and believed in myself. It's a very, very powerful frequency of miracle is to believe in oneself. And so that means in all things. And it didn't say believe in Source, it said to believe in yourself, ourself, as part of Source. It didn't even say to believe in Source. Yo, I don't believe in Source. Like, I don't. If you want me to be brutally honest, I don't believe in any, like, I don't there's no deity or source energy that I believe in. Because I am part of Source. Like, I do not see myself separate from anything else. So if there's a healing that needs to happen, I need to believe in myself first. If there is work that needs to be done, if there's money that has to be on the table, if there is um, uh, love to be shared, whatever it is, I believe in myself first. I trust myself first. I love myself first within that because I am not separated from anything else. I'm not separate from you. So if I believe I am healed, you are healed. If I believe that I am worthy and receive, you are worthy and you receive. That's exactly how this works. There is no separation, and so I don't believe in any divine being. I don't believe in source because that would have this emphasis of there's something outside of me that's bigger than me and grander than me that I have to probably worship and talk to and ask for things for and all this jazz. When I'm just trying to explain to you how powerful your subconscious is, as that is the collective source, all of it, the oneness, the all that is within you. So to believe in oneself is to believe in all those things. That's what they're trying to say is in miracle here. That is what they're trying to say. That miracles can be every inch of every breath when you believe in yourself as part of the totality of all energy that flows. That's what they're trying to say. So I'll read it again. The frequency of miracle, number 33. The frequency of miracle supports our belief in ourselves as part of source and therefore our belief that anything is possible. You believe in yourself. Believe in yourself. The energy of creation. This is, by the way, and I can probably say this because I do talk to the Akashic. My readings are very different if you haven't had a reading by me. I am running a summer sale until like June 28th. Even if you book by the 28th, I can run it into August. Really cheap, 45 bucks. I mean, this is like the cheapest summer sale I've ever had. Um, for an hour to ask as many questions as you can get in an hour. But what I will tell you is we're probably only going to get through 2 or 3 questions because the Akashic is so devoted to us healing everything about us that is standing in our way from being that light being master presence that we can be. And the Akashic will continuously tell you, it's you. It's you. There's nothing really, there's nothing out. There's other stuff. There is source energy. There is the chi, right? There's chi energy everywhere. That's what creation is. But it's us, right? And it's your fellow man. It's us that the Akashic would really love for us to get past all of the things that are blocking us from acknowledging that. That we are a part of a self-generating system, a regenerating system. And that goes for the totality of things. So there is no like white bearded man, Godhead figure. There is zero. Sorry guys, there's zero of that. There's no grand architect, as a lot will refer to that. There is no like hermetics refers to the grand architect that goes into the Freemasons and yada yada. There is none of that. There is none of that. There is no source energy that has, and when I say there's none of that, is because if you've noticed in all of that, there's some form of judgment. That there's some form of judgment. There is, even to creation. Even to creation. We are created in God's image. What? Because God looked at himself in the virgin waters and liked what he saw, so he created us in his image? No. No, that's a story. That is a story. That's a story to make sense to things. But the energy of creation would not have, it wouldn't have the influence of, ooh, I love myself so much that I want to create more of me. It doesn't really work that way. It doesn't really work that way. So I'm just trying to say that are all the energies there? Are all the stereotypes there? Are all the stories actually present? Yeah. Like, do they exist? Yeah. The God figurehead, does that exist? Yeah. I'm just saying that they do not have the influence that they don't actually have the influence that we actually give them. Like, they don't have any influence on us. None of them do, unless we give them the influence, which just holds us back. They don't have that kind of, nor do they care. You think source energy cares? We are a regenerating system. So anything that happens, we just do it again. If anything were to happen, we just do it again. We are a regenerating system. Please understand that. So if people want to believe in like source energy, okay, but we don't have to worship it. We don't have to talk to it. No, you're better off talking to your subconscious. So please understand all of that. We are a regenerating system, and that goes for everything. A regenerating system. Down to the little minute things up to the the entire multi-sphere system. So, yeah, there's no, like, one dude standing there, like, moving all the dials. Moving all the dials. Hell no. There's nothing like that. There's nothing like that. People will talk about the demiurge here that controls, like, maybe this sphere. Yes and no. Yes and no. I mean, it's the same as, uh, the term like, the term devil and the term doubt used to be the same. So devil and doubt were the same. And it's talking about the inner doubt within us, right? That used to mean the exact same thing. That doesn't necessarily mean the same thing anymore. So, like, in terms of the demiurge, right? So we talk about them as, like, maybe the demiurge is kind of like Yalbelphamith or whatever other characters, right? These are characters. All stories exist. Um, but that's exactly what it is. It's a story, same as your story. So if we don't want another story to have any influence on us, well, then we stop reading that story and we don't give it any credit. We don't even pay it any attention. And I don't think that's going to come out right how I just said that, but that is really how you can make yourself lighter. If the stories that you think are true and that you're questioning and you're seeking, I really invite you to stop investigating that stuff and investigate yourself. Just investigate yourself because you've already lived all those stories in the first place and you already know. You already know. So what is any god or demiurge or devil, any of that, what does that have to do with what you are and who you are? Has absolutely nothing to do with you. We are a self-regenerating system. Realization, number 37, realization. The frequency of realization supports the internal process of becoming aware of our heart-centered truth, as well as the external process of becoming our highest expression in this world. You can become lighter when this so right now your center is what they would tell you. Oh my gosh, this is really not going to come through. Is what they would tell any seeing if I switch the light. No, it still don't come through that well. Our center, like even our center of gravity, is also our powerhouse. It's also where the ego lies. Is that third chakra? It is. It's that third chakra that is before the heart, and it's right there in the center of us. It's where most of us are operating from. So imagine if you started operating from the chakra above that, like you're heart centered. That would mean that you would have a completely different center of gravity. Now, wouldn't it? As we've been talking about becoming lighter. So I'll read that again. 37, realization. The frequency of realization supports the internal process of becoming aware of our heart centered truth, as well as the external process of becoming our highest expression in the world. Isn't that lovely? Realization. Realization. I love it. I feel like I said stuff that might have not have been fully understood, and I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. Um, if anything, uh, a lot of people say focus your eyes on the divine on at all times, and I do agree with that. Focus your eyes on the divine, but for me, the divine would be the love energy. That is creation. That is creation. So if we are a regenerating system that is always in creation, we are creating all the time. Well, then that's what we can focus on instead of the density, instead of the quote unquote programming, right? We don't have to continue to feed a system when we are creation itself, right? If we want to create a whole new system, we create a whole new system. We are just as attached and involved and just as much of a godhead as any other godhead. That's what I meant by that. Oh, thank you, Shelley. Shelley's like, I understood it. Oh, yeah, please explore you. There's nothing more grander than exploring oneself, and the depth that we can go with that is where we truly see how we are connected to all things. All things. All that I cannot express to you the I just can't put it into words. I really can't. Oh, thank you, Shelley. Shelley said, "Courtney's an excellent Akashic messenger." Thank you. Shelley's actually when we record together here soon to send a message to you guys and talk and chat, it is gonna be about the questions. It's gonna be about questions because Shelley over time, she is one of those lucky ones that gets a reading once a month because she's a part of the Patreon star tier. And over time, Shelley has really learned how to, like, explore herself, explore the depths of who Shelley is from the beginning of her origin to now, and the inner workings of her psyche, of gifts, of this, of that, that if you utilize questions well enough that you can even ask yourself, just get quiet with yourself, you know? The subconscious, I will tell you guys, the subconscious is always wanting to talk to us, by the way. It wants us to be more in communication with it. This is why meditation very much needed, communicating with oneself and allowing the free thoughts to flow, right? Um, some can do it in the dreams, right? Those are our dream workers who can do so much because that is where the subconscious has a greater influence. It's if to explore oneself is to also explore that, and it can be done, and but it can also be done like how Shelley kind of started, and then she learned techniques, and she does it here, and she does it there, and still does readings with me. She understands how to ask the questions, how to ask and receive information. So that is, I will say, for humans in general, just even in the density, but also when you're doing work like this, it's very important, even when you're doing just working with yourself, in the silence of yourself, right? The quietness of that inner reflection. It's important to ask the right questions even when you're talking to yourself. That's why I love um, when people start really journaling and just letting the voice come out. Just letting the voice come out because that tends to be your most authentic voice. And if you allow that journaling to just kind of flow, oftentimes there's questions in there, or oftentimes there's the answers to the questions you thought you think you have. And so, oftentimes questions, how they are asked and how they are received, makes all the difference in all of the work that you are doing. The healing work, the spiritual work, the just physical paycheck work. The questions and how you receive answers is, um, I mean, it's a quarter of the battle. It's a quarter of, the end result. So I really do stress when Shelly and I are gonna be talking about it because she knows now. She's really for a good chunk of time, gosh, Shelly, I don't know, maybe at least a year or more. She has been asking profoundly good questions, understanding that the answers and the questions work together. So, kinda like how your consciousness and subconscious work together. Oh, and Chloe's in the house. Chloe, do you have any questions, my dear? Oh, I love the people that answer their own questions and talk to themselves. I talk to myself constantly. I always have. Um, it's not it's a great thing. And I knew it was a great thing when I was young, as in sorry, I'm also looking at the chat, beloveds. I knew it was a great thing when I was young because I used to tell people when they would tell me to stop talking to myself, because I did in public. Like, y'all, I did not give a about I'm gonna talk to myself, I don't care. I don't care what all y'all think. But then you'd be talked to, right? People would be like, "Courtney, don't do that in public. Don't do that in public." And I didn't really care about that until I was in my mid-20s of like, "Oh, maybe I have to try to conform." That didn't last long, by the way. Um, it's detrimental to who I am. So I'll talk to myself wherever the hell I am, and people stare. I don't care. Um, because I knew from a very young age. I mean, I used to say to people if they asked me about it, I have been 8 years old, 11-year-old, it didn't matter. I would always say, well, if you don't answer yourself, how are you going to know about yourself? I mean, I was saying that to adults that were trying to get me to stop talking to myself when I was a child. And that was how well, if you don't answer yourself, how are you going to know anything about yourself? Could you imagine an adult going, "Oh, fuck." Like, "What do I do with this child?" That was a problem always. "What do I do with this one?" Um, and that's the truth, because that's what we're here for, right? To remember who we are, to live as our authentic self, to get to that you can't I was thinking the other day, gosh, and it might not even come back to me, but I think I wrote down to make it a short. That I would try to record a short. Shorts are very difficult for me, folks. Um, it's like we can't get to maybe I wrote it down in my phone. Everyone it would be beautiful if everyone lived their authentic self, because within that comes that full acceptance, comes that full like I just said with the Akashic, they were waiting on me, right? But I had to live my authentic self. But it's interesting because I think people tend to think that that's like capping it off. Like if you lived your authentic self, all this other stuff is going to come into play. And that's not necessarily human. I don't think I wrote it down. Um, that's not necessarily how that works. But living your authentic self does lead to the full memory, does lead to the full acceptance, right? And from that leads into more enlightenment because you've laid down so much self-judgment. You've laid it down to be your authentic self that it automatically starts laying down the judgment of other things. That leads to more enlightenment. And that more enlightenment as you live your authentic self, then that leads to the full acknowledgement of there is no separation. The full acknowledgement of how you are a master creator. That is you. It's not another story out there because all stories are one. It's that it leads to that. So if we all start living our authentic self, that's where that then leads. So could you imagine that? That if you lived your authentic self, I lived it, everybody started living it, and we were also accepting of that, like, oh, I accept you, you beautiful authentic star. I accept you. I accept you. By the time then everybody's like living authentically, then it'd be like more have gain more alignment, more alignment. We come even light bodies more, maybe more heart centered, change our gravity. All of it starts with that. But we're kind of living in a time that is talked about is as if that's the end all be all. Same with like the fifth dimensional living experience. 5D is not the end all be all. It's beautiful. It's great. I talked to the patrons about it on Sunday. It's beautiful. It's great. But it's also, it's got still, it still has a lot of its own complexities from still, there's judgment in there. There's still a lot of red tape. There's still a lot of, um, what I really wanna say happens is it's more, the conformity to 5D, the getting comfortable there, the I'm in neutrality, and this is good because nothing's touching me. Well, if nothing's touching you, you're also not touching anything else. So, there's a lot of talk right now, and it has been for at least past couple of years, of, like, live authentically as if that's the end all be all. It's not exactly. So do it because it's where it all begins, it's beautiful, but it's not, the pinnacle. Same with fifth dimensional living experience, it's not the pinnacle. It's there's still complexities within that. Um, and oftentimes too, there's in the fifth dimensional living experience, it's like you can see through the veil of the programming in the 3D density. Oh yeah, you can see it. You've laid down a lot of that and you're not contributing to it anymore, right? But the one aspect of the fifth dimensional living experience is then the mind, your own consciousness can, because it attaches to the ego, because the ego is afraid of you deserting it because you're becoming more heart-centered. Well, it's been the center of the world within you forever. So it's like, "Oh, it's trying to detach from me some. Oh, shit." So then that ego with you, and this is all happening in the 5th, that ego in you will attach itself to the mind even more so and start creating, illusions. So the fifth dimensional living experience is still attached to the illusion of the illusion of the illusion. And so this is when a lot of us will do, and I lived it. So I can express it to you. This is when a lot of us in all beautiful good faith and wanting to love others and be of service, beautiful, grand. Well, this is when you start your healing business. This is when you start your crystal business, and I'm not kind talking to anyone in particular. This is when you start um your business to teach people how to navigate the computer or whatever it is. Whatever it is, you're helping, you want to help. That is beautiful. But oftentimes, it is still very self-serving, and we don't know the slippery slope of it. the very slippery slope of it. So, like I was saying, when we truly are like anchoring into the fifth dimensional living experience, we are then adopting and adapting to more of a heart centered living. Well, the ego, that is the third, your third chakra is, oh my God. It starts freaking out. It starts panicking. Oh, then I'm going to create some illusions. I'm gonna serve what they think is their heart, but I'm gonna get them to start this business. They're gonna be serving, they're gonna be doing all this great stuff. They have great goals. They're here for humanity. All the while, the moment density enters in, that's the hook that the ego has to go, "Okay, but you also need to make X amount of money. You also need to have this many people under you. You need to have this, your establishment needs to look like this." And it starts becoming back into the 3D to fulfill the standing of the ego and starts to lose the sight of the heart centered that was trying to be anchored. And it can play out for a very long time because it's the illusion that it has nothing to do with us. It's the illusion of I'm serving, I'm helping humanity, when all the while we're actually trying to sustain the 3D. It's like we're trying to bring the 5D and bring it into 3D. That's crazy, but it's what we do, folks. It's crazy. So instead of like becoming more lighter ourselves, more heart centered, changing our center of gravity, we're going, hey, all this beautiful stuff, like kind of up here, kind of lofty, but good for humanity and great for everyone. And it's love and light. I'm going to pull that into 3D that I just said at the very beginning is the most dense sphere of existence, period. What do you think happens to it? And it's so insidious. It's based still on the ego and self-preservation. It's based in our own mind of illusions because the mind's lying all the time. It's based in that we think that it's good to pull 5D and bring it into 3. So here's an example. And I think I did talk to the patrons about this, and so I'm gonna use the same example. I grew up being taught that to truly help people, you need to get in the ditch with them. You need to get in the ditch with them. And in that ditch, you're going to help them out. You're going to scoot them out. You're going to hold them up. You're going to strategize together on how to get both of you out. In that ditch, you're going to help get them out. And I want to say a few years into my actual business of Stars of the Morning Light, a few years into that, I think I was in a meditation, a self meditation. I still am always with myself. Um, and it was like the Christ consciousness came to me and he was like, "Why are you getting in ditches?" So it's probably my subconscious, like, "Hey, knock it off." It was like, "Why are you getting into ditches?" And I'm thinking that's what you're supposed to do. You need to go to where the people are. You meet the people where they're at, mentally, emotionally, physically, spiritually. You meet them where they're at. You get in the ditch. And I was so adamant about it. And the Christ consciousness was like, "Did I ever say that? Did any of us ever say that?" Like he kind of looked around. He's like, "Whoever said that?" He said, "I would meet you where you're at, but that don't mean I'd get in a damn ditch with you." I mean, I'm being very facetious. This is not exactly word for word how it went and how anything was spoken, but and comical with it, right? Because it's a story. Um, and I was like, "What do you mean?" I was so adamant, folks, that it took me. I mean, it was very told to me to stop getting into ditches, and that's not at all how this works. That how the hell do you really help somebody, by getting into the ditch with them? Like, you both might not get out, and it's it has to be their choice. Like, I was choosing to get in the ditch with everybody, thinking that I could help everybody, thinking that I could do this. Ego, 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 pulling the fifth into the three. And I still, guys, it took me a long time to stop doing that because I was literally raised with that concept, the programming. So then I was like, damn, is that what I believe? Is that what I believe? So then I had to keep wrapping my head around, well, what do I actually believe? Because it doesn't really matter what they say. Like it doesn't. Doesn't matter what the Kashik says. Doesn't matter what any divine being says. Does not matter what anyone says outside of your own conscious and subconscious. Don't matter. So I was like, because it doesn't really matter what they say. What do I believe? So then I had to look at both sides. Do I believe in getting in the ditch? And at the time, yeah. But they're saying, don't do that. If anything, you stand outside the ditch and you point, put out a hand. I can help lift you out, but it's got to be your choice. Hey, Peter, walk on water. Got to be your choice. Too bad that devil doubt lives in you, right? Um, I then had to really kind of study in my own right. I went back to some stories. I did realize that no, there's not a single master that said get in the ditch with them, right? Buddha talks nonstop about the suffering, but he never really said it in that way. He's talked about the individual living experience, which no, he didn't. That's not what anybody actually said. There's not a single Allah, Christ, Buddha, um, different serfs, different vistas. None of them ever said get in the damn ditch. Is my point. Um, so I was like, where did we come up with that? And I just summed it up to, yeah, that was probably some horrible part of the programming to kind of, keep us in a ditch. And when I went, holy shit, that's probably true. That right there. I went, okay, well, let's see if we can do it the other way. And I will tell you, since for it's been a few years now, of I do not get in the ditch with anyone. I can stand there and I can put a hand out. And if you so choose to take my hand, I can help get you out of that ditch. That I know. I do not question that. But I do not get in the ditch with anyone. And what I will tell you is the moment I started really doing that was the more of the time that I started living more authentically for myself and came into more acceptance of myself, because you automatically have to accept your authority to stay out of the ditch. If that made any sense. I was getting into the ditch with everybody because I still very much wanted to be like, I'm equal as you. I'm a part of you. We can solve this together. We're this. When that's not where I was at. It was time for me to stand in my authority. It was time for me to accept my full power, my full conscious awareness, my full totality of who I am. Well, I will tell you, the full totality of all of us would not go would not go into the ditch. They would go, "Hey, just get yourself out of the ditch. You're bigger than it." But it took that. It took that kind of back and forth time. I grew up with this conviction. Is it still a conviction? I did all of this internally by asking questions, getting answers, asking more questions, but it was all within myself. It was all within myself. I didn't ask because I didn't really care what any other entities or beings or, you know, divine anything thought. It's my choice. It's my decision. But I will tell you that much. Once I learned to stop getting in the ditch for others because it actually doesn't serve anybody. I mean, it serves. Everybody can get out of the ditch, but then they're dirty as shit. You gotta find how to clean off. Like it's just it's a whole bummy deal all around. When it's so much easier to just put a hand out and see if they want it in the first place, and stand in your authority and just say, you can get out of that ditch at any time you choose. And if you don't trust that, I'll reach out a hand. But other than that, you have to. You have to. So, anyways, that was kind of a long rant. Yeah, I've been going for about an hour and a half now, folks. So if there are any questions, any left, I think there's only about 3 people here anyways. So Chloe and Shelly and Witch Moon 11. Good and glad that you are here. Gosh, this was a kind of an interesting ride tonight, folks. Kind of an interesting ride. And beloveds, this is, I do need to say, like, this is all uh authentic me. These are my thoughts, my feelings, my experiences. Um, don't hold them up to your own. Enjoy, explore yourself, right? Don't hold them up to your own. To thy own self be true. And it's funny because you have to know thyself first to be true to thyself. Shelly said the gummies help. She was like, thank you, ladies. Thank you. And I hope you had good times in the chat. I hope everybody who's catching this later, I hope you can pull away with a little food for thought, a little something to investigate within, from whatever the Akashic says, whatever, I might have rocked the boat a little bit, but, that's okay. That's okay. Um, Because if the boat doesn't rock, then nobody ever falls out and everybody can see the power that they really have. It's so funny. It's so funny. Anyways, I love you all. You all are beautiful stars, beautiful stories, beautiful light beings that are becoming heart centered, changing their gravity. I love you all so much. Thank you, Shelly. Thank you, Chloe. Thank you, Witch Moon 11. Everybody have a good night and do enjoy your week. And always do enjoy. Always. Cheers, folks.